We got the first chatter. How's it going? How does the audio sound and the video? I reinstalled some NVIDIA drivers this week. It was I just upgraded to Ubuntu 24. Last week was the first stream with the upgrade. Then I was having some other video related issues. The NVIDIA, what is it? The NVIDIA 555. I guess maybe that's the version. Is it whatever custom? I actually don't even know the difference between the whatever was pre-installed and whatever I got. I think I saw somewhere on Twitter someone was saying that Ubuntu 24 is the first one to ship with some NVIDIA drivers, but I was Googling for some problem I had, and then someone suggested installing these even newer NVIDIA drivers, and it fixed some problems. I actually the main issue I was trying to solve was I couldn't get a square screen resolution. So when I record the shorts videos, I do those on square resolution, and no matter what I was doing with like XRANDR or whatever the old way, I actually don't really even understand how all those subsystems work. The XRANDR way of doing it just didn't work. For that resolution, it would always give me it was complaining about bad arguments. And then I found a thread that I think actually fixed the problem, and it was I have to add a grub parameter, which is kind of weird to change your video resolution. Before, I used to just go in. I added a new entry with a new mode line with XRANDR, and then I would go in and change it in the UI. But now I guess it's a kernel thing or something, or yeah, I don't quite get it. I guess it's a Wayland specific thing, which I don't completely understand, because I know Ubuntu 24 has there's the X mode, and then there's the Wayland mode, and I don't know the difference between them, but I thought I was on the X version. But gotta love it. NVIDIA drivers on Linux, not terrible. I've gotten better over the years. Yeah, it's kind of a pain. I used to work at NVIDIA on the driver integration team for at least one internship, and it's frustrating even then, working on the team that does driver testing and integration, and my coworkers couldn't even get Linux get video drivers working on my system. I installed NVIDIA 545, then Linux Mint pushed a Flatpak variant of the driver and broke everything. Yeah, it's I have a secure boot enabled too, so when I went to update the drivers, it asks me to you have to put in a password, and then when it reboots, you have to put in that password, and then go through. You have to install the new new key enrollment or something to make it actually apply. And the first time I went through that menu, the default option is continue, and I pressed continue thinking I could get back into that menu, and no matter what, I could never get that key enrollment thing to come back. And at first I thought because it booted up and it worked, and I thought, it's maybe that's not necessary. I guess it installed, and then everything was actually a lot faster. And that weird problem where when I boot up and I try to open terminal, when it was really slow to open, that problem went away. So I thought, oh, cool, the new drivers fixed all those problems. And then I realized that actually the video OBS was not working, and then I concluded, oh, it's probably because it didn't actually, when it went through the secure boot, because it did give me some warning about if you don't do this the key enrollment thing, it doesn't actually install, but like some things will work. So I I found out a way to like allow that option to come up to do the key enrollment, and then I did that, and then I think it actually did finish the update process, or maybe actually even it rolled it back. I don't even know. But anyway, I got my screen resolution working, but the weird graphics glitches are still with me. How's home situ? I just got forced. I got a forced move within 1 month. Lifetime is tough. Hardest move ever with senior dog. Best thing ever done. Hated management. I guess you're also maybe getting rent evicted or something. Yeah, there's not. Well, I guess there is one update on the rent eviction situation. They handed out more rent eviction notices. So at this point, it's almost like it's getting close to like 50% of the entire building has a pending N13 eviction. And of course, they're not evicting any of the new tenants that pay higher rent. I have all that stuff disabled. I do full disk encryption. All that stuff mean like secure boot and stuff. Yeah, it's historically I've always the first thing I would do is like disable secure boot, because it always in the past it was you needed to like learn a lot about it to get it to work, but I think it's become a lot easier. Like now I found my experience has been you just leave secure boot on and you can install the OS and it works. And I guess I'll have to be careful about that, remembering the password and entering the right option on if I do like driver upgrades and stuff. Time to make a co-op company, then buy out the landlord's tenant, so the tenant owns everything. Yeah, I was thinking about like, would it be possible just to get like a bunch of people in the building to put down some money to buy the entire building? Because like if you could do it on leverage or something, but I don't think the math pencils out. There's probably a lot of people in this building. There's probably a couple of people who would be able to put in like $100,000 or something of their maybe their entire net worth, but probably I think there's a bunch of people in the building who are not who are kind of really on the edge, a lot of senior citizens and stuff. All right, so mic keeps making noise. Is it making like popping noises a lot on your end? I think it's me breathing on the mic. So I'll get started a bit with my itinerary. So the title of it was terminal-based graphics. So that's what I'll make the theme of this one. So my brief status update will be installed the NVIDIA drivers. I finished making a new video, finally, shorts video. So that'll be going out this week. And debugged some issues with Block Mining Simulator. Yeah, actually so the last time I tried to play Block Mining Simulator, when I booted it up, it crashed, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. And that was I found that was because I launched it within Tmux, because there's a problem when Tmux actually has the character width detection lags a little bit, and so it ends up in like a deadlock because some of my code was not really robust. And what was the other issue? Oh yeah, I went to debug that, and that led me into a whole rabbit hole of this device control string Unicode character, because I went back and I have a little test script that I was running to test the width of characters. Actually, it's on my if you look up my blog post, making games for the Linux terminal. I had some little test code that would just run through the first 400 Unicode code points and have some ANSI control sequences to measure the width of characters. And I was tried running that in Tmux and Screen, and it would hang. And I couldn't figure out why. It was just not something I could easily Google for. And so I looked into which character it was hanging on. And then at first I actually thought it was I messed up the control sequence. I thought it was a different Unicode because I Googled for it and it took me to like another Unicode character. But then eventually I realized that it's a Unicode specific control character. So it's a multi-byte control character. And then I'll talk a little bit more about that tonight. And then, of course, my last item here is I finally did a little bit of work on getting taxes done, and so finally got the books where they balance, so they match the records from last year, and then I can start the real accounting work. Okay. Let me read chat. This is what mobile home parks end up doing, since those people already own the building, just not the land. Yeah, it's I'm not sure what the future of housing is going to be. Something's going to have to break soon. It's getting pretty uneconomic for everyone. Ubuntu's made it pretty easy, secure boot. Yeah, it has been. I'm pleasantly surprised how easy a lot of this stuff is getting. Okay, next was gotta have more of my energy drink to up the energy level. Okay, so where to begin? Let's go to, so this here is the control character that was causing all the problems for me. And so this here is that's the UTF-8 byte sequence. It's a device control string, and it's one of these weird thing. Again, it's not really like nobody uses it, but then when I looked into it, apparently this character exists. So there's this, and then okay, there's this one, but then you can also do it separately. I don't know if it's on this page, but you can also do it with like an escape character, so like 0x1b, and then the letter P. I'll show an example of that later. But so there's two ways to define this character like this, and it's the same for a bunch of these weird control characters. And I guess what the root cause of this was. So this, yeah, it's the C1 Unicode block. Yeah, there's this whole, this will probably have the one I was talking about. Okay, I think that's one description of it. Anyway, a bunch of these characters. There's two separate ways to define them, and I think it was because in some like really old character set, like a pre-Unicode character set, there was like a 7-bit version and an 8-bit version, and for some compatibility, they had like in one context the character one of the high bits didn't matter, and so when they tried to make Unicode backward compatible with all these old other character sets, they basically duplicated these control sequences so that they would you could reference what was basically like two different versions of the same control sequence, but apparently like nobody ever uses the higher versions. Ever get around to watching Idiocracy? I have not. Haven't even thought about it. Legacy stuff that could be defined as ASCII or actual Unicode. Recommended a few times. I guess after the stream, I completely forgot about it. So much other stuff going on. Yeah, you know what? Actually, I basically don't even watch any movies. Watch the Nixon JFK debates. Yeah, speaking of debates, I mean, I don't know if we should go there. That was a pretty interesting debate. Was it last night? It was. That'll go down in history for sure. Okay, so device control string. That was the one that gave me all the problems. And I Googled for this I thought like, okay, so the terminal is getting stuck on this, so it's waiting to parse some more characters. So like, what exactly is it doing? Like, maybe I could find an example somewhere out there of someone actually using this device control string, and I couldn't find any examples. And that's what led me down this rabbit hole. And I found like the general documentation for it. Yeah, so this is the example I followed to actually get a working demo of it. So it's kind of a bit bizarre documentation that you have to read through all the details. And apparently there's a bunch of, some of these are not even used. And the thing that surprised me about this, I've seen demos of people doing like color graphics and stuff like pictures in the terminal, and I was kind of didn't really think much of that. I thought it's just it's some graphics extension or something that someone patched into. It's not that impressive. But then I realized that I found it up at the Sixels are these go back to like the 1970s, which is interesting. I've never heard of them before. But I guess for good reason, because they're not actually supported by most terminals. Oh no, are we voting dementia or felon this year for the United States? Yeah, I wish that the politics of many places was a lot better. Maybe we could get someone to build some housing somewhere. Even in the States. I mean, when I went down there to do co-ops, it was also brutal. Like, I thought that was bad, but of course now it's housing is even worse up here in Canada. Yeah, so there's this whole complex set of instructions here for doing graphics operations directly in the terminal, and all defined in the VT era of terminals. So my demo. So if I run this here, that's what it outputs. And so that's just nonsense. But there's a few terminals that actually support Sixels, and there's I guess a bunch of tmux apparently supports it, but you have to compile tmux with a specific flag. It's not in there by default. I guess it's kind of makes sense that these are not enabled, because I don't really see that much practical use for them in the terminal now that we have like actual graphical displays. But they could also be like a huge source of security bugs and stuff too, because I'm sure there's all kinds of parsing bugs with it. All right, there we go. So that's the basic example. And if I just open, so there's the code. And so this here is that bizarre Unicode sequence. And there's a couple variables that I found in the documentation that at least one of them doesn't do anything. In this format, it's a bit different than, so there's two ways to describe these Sixels and draw with them. Data housing is terrible. So much space, no one can build. Yeah, that's just it feels exhausting to talk about. There's so many other problems with like financing and stuff too, and it should be age limits. Yeah, it's I mean, I would think like there's probably there probably are like limits. I mean, the I think I don't quote me on this, but I think Joe Biden was like involved in there was a case against him, and some judge said that he was too old to be prosecuted. He was too old to be guilty, basically. So if you're too old to be guilty in a court case, then I don't know. That doesn't make sense. You could be president. I'm not sure if that was actually if that was like a hypothetical thing, or if that was actually something a judge said. But so I don't want to spread misinformation, but. Being a public office should not be a career, nor should it be a source of financial gain. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can go with that, like all the stock trading stuff with the Senate and the conflict of interest there. That's a whole interesting discussion in itself. Anyway, yeah, so this is the Sixel demo with the Unicode character. And so I also have a more complicated photo here. And so here's another example of a much more complicated photo. So if I do, so here you can see this is the same Sixel description with. I actually use this. There's a program. It's called like IMG2 Sixel. I can download it on Ubuntu. I tried to get it on Fedora, but there's no. I don't know if there's a package for it. But anyway, I created this on the other computer. So it's using the other second character for device control string, which is the 1B followed by P character. So if I cat to this, there's the image that it draws, and that's all from terminal, from drawing instructions. And the reason it's called a sixel is, I guess, it describes 6 vertical pixels. Do you think the current president was an adult before Unix was founded? Yeah, I found out that Joe Biden had a brain aneurysm 1 year before I was born, which is an interesting stat. Was not a judge, but an investigator said that. Yeah, crazy statement. I saw an interesting DEF CON talk about code injection using escape sequences and banners. Yeah, that's a whole other can of worms. I mean, it's annoying that you kind of, I would have thought that more minimalist, just printing stuff to a terminal would be a bit safer, but it's a whole class of, I even remember there was some kind of, in GNU Screen, there was some vulnerability with some weird Unicode character. There's so many weird exception cases with Unicode, like surrogate pairs and stuff like that, and just so many strange exception cases. That's very impressive. I don't think I've seen this in a CLI drawing before. Yeah, I've seen some demos of these before, but I never really thought about it. I thought this is not it's just some person wrote probably some add-on, but I guess it is there is a description for how to do actual color graphics, full image color graphics in the terminal, circa 1970s or something. But I guess what happened was probably when X was released, they realized why would we do this in the terminal? What when we want we would do, if we were going to do graphics, we would do something with much more color depth and stuff like that. So people stopped bothering. But I guess there's been a push by some people to get graphics back in the terminal, but realistically, I don't think it's really full picture graphics. I don't think there's a lot of a necessity for it. And I mean, if it could be done securely and not introduce a whole bunch of buffer overflow vulnerabilities and stuff, then. But do you have a video on Sixels yet? No, I don't. I actually I basically just found out about them, recently, which is, I guess, is kind of maybe might surprise some people given how much I do command line stuff, but that's kind of the way it is when you myopically focus your attention on certain things. You do other things that are, I guess, commonly talked about that you don't even think about. What's that? IMGCAN. So this is just so that face.txt. It's just this this file. So this here, that's a control sequence, that first character there. And then after that, these are drawing instructions. And so this goes back to 1970s. But the thing is that it's not supported natively. It's not supported by default in almost all terminals. I had to use this one is called Console, Konsole. Now, can you animate that to do in-terminal video? Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about that, but I'm sure you could. I guess all you have to do is I could just do clear and then CAD something again, and then just you do that one frame at a time. And of course, you could just write a program to generate that output. I mean, that could make for some interesting demos, but the thing is, it's not really. It's pretty limited because most terminals don't really use it. And then, like, I mean, you can ask, like, what are you accomplishing by using these tricks? You can just use like a regular graphics library and then do it in within the context of X or something. TempleOS has 3D graphics in the shell. Oh yeah. TempleOS is that's such an amazing. That's a whole new level. The way like the sprites he had, like twirling around and stuff like that, right in the terminal. Characters, you either love them or hate them. Am I right? I guess. An entire X session via the terminal. TempleOS for the win. Thought you were going to do some ASCII graphics in the terminal. There's a whole new bag, sir. I need to learn this. Yeah, I would assume it works over SSH. Just because it's like it's basically just serial output. So if anything like cursor change positions or any of that kind of stuff, it just comes through this sequence. So just printing this to the screen. Like if I do, like I say, I could just edit. Let me make a copy of that. So if I just like go halfway through this, let me think here. So if I do like that and then delete a whole bunch, let's see what this gives me. Like I said, messes it up. So it looks like where I deleted stuff was right. It was pretty much the first line there. So you can see a little bit of the first part of the hat, and then it messed up the rest of it. The Primeagen did some Doom and ASCII recently. But with this compression and this technique, you could do some crazy stuff efficiently over SSH like video. Yeah, it is. I guess, I mean, that's why they originally made these Sixels. They were the 1970s way to start doing graphics. This was like before, graphical displays. This is probably the early stages of like computer graphics that eventually morphed into what X and all that stuff became. But the big issue is that this is not supported by default in most terminals. So GNOME terminal, I tried GNOME terminal, GNU Screen, Tmux, none of them support it by default on Ubuntu at least. I think Tmux, apparently you can recompile Tmux with a certain flag. Use SSH-X, SSH-X, and then use terminal emulator of your choice. Yeah, that's I have, I've only really practically used SSH-X like once or twice. Totally understand, might not be practical, but practical, less than fun. Yeah, it's I thought it was it's certainly, if this was just like some extension that someone made to a terminal, I probably wouldn't really have thought much about it, but I guess I stumbled upon this by accident with trying to debug why my character with calculation wasn't working, and then of course I was like, device control string. What even is this? And then eventually I stumbled upon all this stuff. So I guess what was happening was I printed device control string character, and I was waiting. I would ask to measure the width of it, and in GNOME terminal, it would allow me to just print that device control string, then ask what's the current cursor position, and it would not block. It would actually just report back the position. But with the device control string in Tmux, it was hanging. I guess probably because it was waiting for me to input the rest of the device control sequence, and probably there's like an end of string character you're supposed to put at the end, and so I guess I was waiting for that. I find console to be comfortable as well. Yeah, I never used it before this. It was just the first one I could find that actually it was easy to install in Ubuntu, and it actually worked with this stuff. But I don't know. I when I was Googling this, it seems like there's a really small like cult following of people who really want to get Sixels supported in all terminals. So maybe we will get them eventually. I guess I could see I could see it like a small vocal minority of people pushing for them, especially since there's actually a historical basis. It's not some thing that somebody just made up. Actually, while we're here, so yeah, I think that was everything I wanted to cover tonight. Oh wait, actually there is some more. So I got into Googling on this, and I believe this was like the start of this is the basis for terminal-based graphics. So the ECMA 35 first edition, 1971. Extension of the 7-bit coded character set. And I think this document actually has, it's kind of hard to read this because it's written in a very formal, abstract way. And you have to get yourself into the mindset of 1970s. I think it mentions the C1 character set. It was either this one or one of the later revisions from 1980. Yeah, it's just describing the full gamut of characters. Okay, I think it was in this one it was described as I was looking for device control sequence in this, but it's one of these ones that's the original 1970s version of the device control string, I think. I even found I downloaded looked at the early Unicode standards versions that were first published, and to try and find something on device control string, but it's almost nothing written about it, so that made it even harder to figure out. can see how Sixels need to be disabled on most terminals because of security reasons. Yeah, it's I mean, you can question. There's really less like two things you could want to use a terminal for. I think it probably like the standard, for like standard terminals you want to use for work, it would make sense to not have that at all, just so you don't have to worry about it. And then like, I don't know, if you want to do some recreational programming, you could have a separate one, which I guess is what we have. We have those that terminal called console. Where is the P and the U, bro? Not sure what you mean by that. Back when barcodes were only seen on rail cars. Barcodes on rail cars? Not sure. I don't think I've ever seen a barcode on a rail car. Feels as I grow older, there's a generation that is losing touch with how their tech actually works. So content like this is so refreshing. Yeah, that's kind of the niche I want to occupy, especially with like a lot of those core utils commands go into the early 1970s stuff, and I think it's on one hand it's like kind of useless history, but in another way there's actually a practical use case to it, which is explaining why it exists. And so if people want to like reinvent things, and if you know why something exists, you can know like maybe certain things we should throw away and just completely stop doing, but then other things there's actually like a purpose and a reason why we do something a specific way. Have you checked out the language Bend? It runs on GPU and is comparable to Python. I've not. Gonna bring back core memory. Actually, I have a video on magnetic core memory. If I watch your streams, will I learn how to render Biden's laptop? I'm not sure. Maybe. But yeah, one of these characters, I forget which one was. I think eventually became the modern version of that device control sequence. Although I can't find any reference to the name device control sequence in here. Okay, and this was some of the descriptions of, I guess, how the spaces of characters were mapped around. It's really you didn't really have to spend like a couple weeks to like sit down and really understand this. But these were, I guess, the early days of when they were trying to define standards to. I think they're basically taking like what people had kind of already invented and then trying to like take all these, completely non-standard things and figure out the best common denominator to make everything work as on as many different systems as possible. And I think a lot of the basis for creating these kinds of standards is for it's just to reduce financial waste for governments. And that's the end. I recently got a not a typewriter error in the terminal with no context. Pretty funny. Yeah, that's how did you manage that? Really snap. We'll need to look that up. There's some great videos of a team who built new interfaces to read old Apollo programs written using core memory. Yeah, I think I saw that was like it was like it was a Y Combinator project, if I remember correctly. There's a couple YouTubers that do a lot of like retro like technology stuff, and I forget his name specifically. Can you use JavaScript to interact with core memory? I mean, theoretically, you could. You have to probably write a driver to interface it and then map it into your memory, and then I mean, JavaScript's interaction with memory is pretty transparent, but so you'd have to like put something into your operating system to manually make the operating system page your JavaScript out to the core memory. But I guess theoretically you could. Okay, so for the sake of testing, I guess actually this is older code, but let's run the block mining simulator on inside of this console. I think I tested this the other day, and it actually seems to run, but I didn't run it that much. I would say right now, I would describe what I'm doing as futzing around. I guess I've covered my topic of the day, which is just the Sixels, and now I'm just gonna space out and play some block mining simulation game. Looks like the UI is a bit messed up. I don't have the updated code on this computer yet. Optical delay line is pretty interesting. What does that do? Oh, is that the memory that like it basically just keeps the bits, like sends them out in a loop, and then it's like constantly sending them as network traffic basically? A new project's called OpenInterface, like a capture card and KVM via USB. I'm not familiar with that. I forgot how laggy this game is on this computer. It's really starting to struggle. Yeah, that's going to be one of the things I need to get down pat before I try to add more features to this game. They got 248K of their 12K goal for manufacturing. 2,000% funding. That's not bad. GGG. See you next time. Oh, I guess my UI is really messed up. Yeah, the frame detection is pretty bad. I think it's probably because I don't have the updated character width detection code on this machine, so I can see the borders are all messed up. Is this Dwarf Fortress? Nope, it's a terminal-based block mining simulation game that I'm working on. It's a work in progress. You can't really do much in it, and it's kind of hard to tell, but the UI is messed up. It's broken right now. I'm just testing it in different terminals to see how it works. Looking for crashes and things. The biggest issue right now is just it's horribly slow. Looks pretty cool. Thanks. Yeah, I would like to work on it more, but so much other stuff going on. I might probably get some time to work on it this week. Well, it's getting pretty excruciatingly laggy, but it's nice to see that it doesn't completely crash. I think the UI stuff that's messed up. It's not supposed to look like this down here. There's supposed to be a bottom part that shows you what your inventory is. But I can also see it's messed up over here. Yeah, for next week I'll have to pull on the latest code that fixes the UI, and then I'll do some more testing. It's the game made with Java. Yeah, it's basically pure Java. People hate on Java a lot, but I like it. It's I mean, doing this in C is just. I've written a lot of C, and it's C is good for certain things. If you want to write a context switch in an operating system, C is very good. But if you want to add two strings together, it's really not the best language. But having said that, I think I'll probably call it a night. And so around probably same time next week, I'll be here at approximately the same time. I still haven't bothered to pre-announce my streams. It's just another thing I need to look into. But all right, that'll be it for tonight. Have a good night, guys.